Welcome to Capacitating a Happy Marriage. This is a series of videos that we put together to help you to grow your marriage even in this difficult time where we are facing so much stress, so much insecurity, and hopefully through these videos you'll be able to get through this time with a marriage that is stronger than ever before. The first video that we're going to share with you is entitled The Law of Search. The law of search is part of a group of laws that control your thinking. Now, the laws of our nature, as we entitled this group of laws, works like the laws of nature. Gravity, for example, makes this apple fall from a tree. We don't ask ourselves, why does the apple fall? We just see the apple fall. And in the same way, we see that people think in a certain way and behave in a certain way. We realize the feelings people have, but we don't necessarily ask ourselves, what is the cause? What is the law that makes this happen? And that is what the laws of our nature is all about. It explains to us why we think in certain ways. Today we want to focus on one specific law called the law of search. The law of search, as I explained already, works like gravity. It impacts your thinking without you even realizing it. And by impacting your thinking, it impacts you within your marriage and makes you do things and see things that you might not need to do or might not see normally. And we want to explain to you how you can use this law to your advantage within your marriage, to grow your marriage and come out of this time more stable than ever before. Allow me to explain the law of search with a very basic example. Have you ever experienced that you had a specific vehicle that you saw around here and there, but not very often? It was like your mind had put it on the peripheral of your focus because it's not important. This is how your mind is designed to function. It is part of your coping mechanism. You can't cope with all the information around you. So your mind is designed to put that which is not so important on your peripheral, on the outside of your focus. Now imagine that same car suddenly is the car that you want to purchase. It is not unimportant anymore. Now it becomes important. As it becomes important, your focus is on it. It is as if all the cars of that make are suddenly pulled into your focus. You see far more of it. You did not create it. You just focus more on it, and that's why you see more. You did not pull it towards you. You were searching for it, and that's why you saw it, and you moved towards it possibly. This is what we call the law of search. The law of search does not say that you create things or pull things to you. It simply says that when you start to search for certain things, you see more of it. In your marriage, this could be an amazing tool, both for building your marriage and for destroying it. And we intend to show you today how to use it to build your marriage. Allow me to show you another experiment to explain the law of search a little bit more. I would like you to look around you in the area that you are in at the moment and identify the most dominant color? Keep that color in your mind while I continue speaking. What would you say if I say the dominant color in your area is black? Now, before you say that that is not true, have a look. Now, some of you might start to laugh and say, how does this guy know what is in my surrounding? He's not able to do this. Some of you would think, what kind of magic is this? But it's not magic. What I've done is I got you searching for a specific thing. If you cooperated and you searched for black things in your surrounding, you would have probably seen far more black things in your surrounding. This is the law of search. When you start searching for something, you see more of it. But how does the law of search impact the happiness of your marriage? I'm going to do a little bit of an experiment with you. For this, you will need a paper and a pen. I'm going to ask you to note some things down. But before we start with this exercise, I would like to put down some ground rules. Whatever you write down, you will not share with your spouse at this point. You might be able to share it at a later point, but you do not share it at this point. And when you share it later, it will only be because you have all the tools to share this effectively to grow your relationship. The first thing I would like you to note down is as many negative things about your spouse. I give you 1 minute to do that. At this point, please pause the video and tape yourself or time yourself with 1 minute to finish this exercise. Please pause the video now. Now I would like you to do the same exercise in 1 minute, but this time note down all the positive things about your spouse that you can think of in 1 minute. Pause the video now and time yourself for 1 minute. We have found that most people have a longer list of negatives than positives. Why is this? We believe it's because of something we call the wild horse rule. Now, the wild horse rule is a combination of the law of self and the law of slip together, which says that you will always think the worst about yourself first. You don't only think that, you think of that first. I would encourage you to search for the wild horse rule online. As mentioned, feel free to Google for the wild horse theory or click on the link that is provided with this video. Our challenge to you is to note down at least 25 things about your spouse that you appreciate. Allow the law of search to grow your happiness in your relationship. In conclusion, we would like to challenge you to communicate this list to your spouse. And while you're communicating it, explain each point and say why you think this is an important point. The beauty of this exercise is that our law of search naturally goes to the worst about ourselves. So in other words, it would go to the threat to you from your spouse. Your thoughts always go to the worst first. That's the law of slip. So you would always tend to look at your worst things about your spouse first. But when we use the law of search in a positive way, when we force ourselves to search for the good things in our spouse, we will suddenly see more of these good things. And that's going to make us more happy in our relationship. That's going to make us more positive towards our spouse. I challenge you to try this exercise. It has changed people's marriage in many, many amazing ways. May it change your marriage as well.
So for many years I've thought marriage came from the word marry. Apparently I was wrong. I looked it up. Apparently I had it wrong. But I still think there should be a lot of merriness in your marriage as you live with the person that you decided to live with for the rest of your life. We don't want to be unhappy while we're married. And that is partially why we put these videos together, because it is such a sad thing to see people being unhappy in a relationship that should bring happiness. And to a great extent, the reason for people's unhappiness, I have found, is that they search for the wrong things. They search for things that are bad for their relationship. Now today I asked my lovely wife, Adela, to join us, because very often when I ask her about relationships and ask her opinion on relationships with the children and with other people, she's got a lot of wisdom, and I thought today she could share some of that with us. Welcome, Manshats. Great. So if I would ask you, what is the challenge with people searching for things, searching for the wrong things, and possibly not searching for things that are good for their relationship? What have you seen? What is the problem there?
I think what often happens is that we are looking for the negative things that we see in our partner. We see the wrong things, the things that irritate us, the things that frustrates us, instead of looking at the good things and the positive things in our partners. And when we forget about the time we met, there were a lot of things we appreciated about our partner. That's why we got married to them. And now, we tend to forget about that.
Yeah, I just had a discussion with somebody recently where I said to them, when we got married, right there in the beginning, I had a lot of extremely romantic ideas, candles that I put out and all those weird and wonderful things. And that was mainly because I was searching for opportunities to be romantic. And now after 21 years of wonderful marriage, you tend to forget, because you become so used to being married to this person, and you don't search for opportunities to be romantic. I was shocked to my core, because I realized I don't search for these things anymore. And if you don't search for them, you don't find them. And that is detrimental for the relationship when you don't do that. Yeah. So we challenged you in the video to find 25 things about your spouse that you appreciate. Now, I'm not going to ask my wife to mention 25 things about me now. I'll ask her later. To many people, this sounds like a mountain that is too high to even get over. Start with one step at a time. Don't put yourself under too much pressure and write things down that are meaningless. Really sit down and ask yourself, what are the 25 things about my spouse If you can do 50, even better. What are the things about my spouse that I appreciate? And what will happen then is, because you're searching for these things in your spouse, you will find more of them. And as you find more of these things, you become more happy to be in the relationship, and your spouse will probably become more happy to be in the relationship with you also. So it's got so many positive extras that you find when you start searching for the things you appreciate about your spouse.
I think on the first day it will be difficult to find 25 things, but as the days go by and you are keeping track about things that are happening, you will see that maybe after a week you will find the 25 things.
Yeah, and the beautiful thing is, as you start searching, you will find more and more of these things. But it's not only searching for the things you appreciate about your spouse. It is also, as I said, searching for things you can do that are romantic. Searching for opportunities to create joy in your spouse. I will never forget when you went through, we went through a similar exercise, and you mentioned to me, there was one thing where you mentioned that you trust me on a very important core thing for yourself, and that was, for me, that was one of the most beautiful days of my life, because you mentioned that to me. And that is the kind of thing that happens when you search for these things and you communicate them to your spouse. You actually share with your spouse things that they don't even realize about themselves. And it makes them feel better about themselves. And we love to be with people that make us feel better about ourselves. We don't love to be with people that just tell us what is wrong with us. Obviously, sometimes in a relationship you need to do that, because otherwise we'll never grow. But we tend to never communicate the things we appreciate. And when we communicate these things that we appreciate, we must communicate it in such a way that the person knows what they did, so that they can repeat what they did. When you say to somebody what they've done that you found good, if they repeat it, it is a proof of their love. It is not a proof that they don't have any initiative. It's always good to share what you want to have in a relationship, what you want more in a relationship.
Yes. Often we also think the other person knows. We assume that he knows what we want to say or what we feel, but it is important that we don't only think it, but that we always say it.
Yes.
To that person.
I've been in so many counseling sessions where people would say to me what he should know, she should know, and then nobody really knows. So, Manshats, as a conclusion, what would you like to have everyone remember from this video?
I think, for this video, we must remember to focus on the good things that we appreciate and that we love about our partner.
And I want to take it one step further. We challenged you to find 25 things about your spouse that you really appreciated. We want you to communicate that to your spouse, but not only communicate it as in, oh, this is the list of the things that I like about you. Every point, think about why is it important. Communicate why is it important for you and what it causes within you. Then it's got real meaning. And then going forward, I want to challenge you to find one new thing that you have not seen before in your spouse every day going forward. Just imagine how that will improve your relationship with your spouse. Have fun growing your relationship and having a great marriage.